Hello guys and welcome back, and in this devlog I want to go over some of the stuff I've done these past few days. Before I continue, I want to apologize for not uploading last week. I went a little bit jam crazy and participated in a few game jams, so I was a bit occupied working on some other games and not really working on this one. But you can check out the games I made for those game jams. The links are in the description. And I also recently got a friend of mine to start doing some of the artwork, so most of the pixel art will be done by him since I have no artistic skill of my own. You can go check him out on Instagram. The link is also in the description. He is also going to be the one who will possibly do the music. I don't know where the music is going to come from, but anyway, with that long-winded intro, let's begin. Okay, so the previous works were mainly focused on making new weapons, enemies, upgrades, and a new ability, but I got a bit sidetracked when it came to trying to optimize some memory management, which I will get into later on, not right now at the moment. So yeah. So the first thing I did was add a rocket launcher so you can make things go boom. I wanted to balance out this weapon given its strength, so you have to be careful where you use it, as it does damage to you as well. The next thing I did was make a tracking missile, because who needs to aim to make things go boom? So basically, this does the same thing as a normal rocket launcher, only it follows the nearest enemy. I also worked on some status effects for some of the weapons, mainly the ice cannon, flamethrower, and a few new weapons like the crowd control magnet and a crossbow, whose bleeding status effect I am yet to find a way to finish. I don't need to explain what status effects are, as I assume we've all played video games. The main reason I added them in was so that some of these weapons aren't just gimmicky, they actually have an effect. For example, the crowd control magnet, which is one weapon that I find might be very useful to players in later waves, as its status effect pulls all nearby enemies to the point at which the bullet impacted. So it might be something you might find useful when going up against large amounts of enemies, as you can clump them together at one point and dispatch them easily. And speaking of enemies, we have two new enemies in the game. Okay, the enemies I added, first of all, were these spinny boys here, who are basically circles that shoot, but they go berserk and shoot bullets around you while spinning. These enemies on their own, I know they don't look very impressive, but the difficulty will come when maneuvering bullets around these enemies, because if you remember, as I said, the more time that passes, the more damage enemies do. So since these guys are spawning at later waves, you have a difficult time. The next enemy I added was this big square. I've made on its own, this enemy does no damage to you and moves at a snail's pace. But there's a reason I've made sure this enemy only spawns in later waves. This is given the fact that when hit, it spawns a child. This can be multiple children depending on the amount of damage you do. And these children it spawns actually have the dash ability, which makes them deadly, plus they're actually more unpredictable in their movements as compared to most of the enemies who just follow you around. Meaning, if you want to simply attack these enemies, you will want to keep your distance. Like, look at this, here's a montage of me actually dying to these guys at a lower level. Okay, so speaking of maintaining distance, I actually made this a new ability, even though the dash ability on its own is a very good way of maintaining distance, by the way. But the new ability I added, called the particle cloak, is basically a way of emitting particles all around the player, This means that any enemies that come close to the player will take damage if they collide with the particles, and given the way these particles are emitted, you have a 1,000,000% chance of dealing damage to any enemies that come close to you. Plus, they also destroy bullets that try to hurt you, so you're almost invincible in a way. And as for the upgrades I added, these just correspond to the way the abilities work. So for starters, the abilities have 3 factors that affect them, these being cooldown, duration, and damage. So the upgrades I added just correspond to these 3 factors for both the cloak ability and the dash ability. And finally, the last thing I did implement here was a cooldown. The last thing I implemented was a random loot system for the temp upgrades. So if you remember in the previous video, I said that for the temp upgrades that appear every few waves, where you get to choose either ammo or health, I also added in another upgrade that lets you choose to get a random weapon. So you get to choose a random weapon at a specific point. I will make sure though that these weapons will only spawn at certain waves, to make sure that say you're on wave 20, you don't get a stupid handgun, you want to get a more powerful weapon. So I'll make sure that more powerful weapons spawn on greater waves, meaning you don't instantly get a rocket launcher on like wave 3, because come on, you just eat through your enemies. And yeah, those are the main things I added into the game. The rest was, as I said, focused on object pooling, which if you don't know about it, I won't go into it in this video. But all you need to know is that it's a more optimized way of me actually spawning and despawning objects. In fact, not despawning them, but it's a great way of me maintaining objects so that I don't overload the C# garbage collector, me leading to poor performance on some devices. I will go further into this once I've fully implemented it into every system, as at the moment I've only implemented it into the shooting system, so bullets are instantiated but never destroyed. Yeah, so I'd like to thank you for watching this video to the end. And if you enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as I've noticed that 80% of everyone watching this isn't subscribed. And you can also share this video if you want people to find out about the game. Yeah, in that case, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave any feedback in the comment section. Don't forget to check out my boy on Instagram, as that was the term of our agreement. And finally, have an amazing day. God bless.